is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine?
You think you've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine.
Hello everyone, welcome once again to Ask the Treksperts, the show where we answer your questions about Star Trek. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
Sarah, today's episode request comes from Mr. BK47, who asks us to review The Icarus Factor.
Indeed.
Which came at a prime opportunity because we've been going through TNG, like we mentioned, I think, last episode, and we recently did a TNG Season 1 overview, and now, just all of a sudden, we hit Icarus Factor, and that was an episode request from a while back, so we said, here we go, let's do it. So, Icarus Factor, late Season 2. If you need any context, this would be the season where Guinan first appears. This is the season where 10 Forward pops up out of nowhere. There it is for the rest of the series. And
Pulaski takes over as medical officer.
Yes, and we also have a new half-character in Riker's beard.
That will remain for the rest of the series.
And Riker gets awesome.
Well, he was awesome, but you just couldn't tell because he was so young. And the episodes were much worse. And so he didn't have as much to do. Yeah, and,
well, you know, Frank says in interviews that by the second season they let him start doing more of his own thing, and because they started letting him put more of his own personality into the character.
Well, apparently his personality is wicked awesome.
Yeah, Jonathan Frakes is awesome.
You know, you hit season, and I don't want to do a season 2 overview yet, but you get season 2, and all of a sudden he's just like doing awesome episode after awesome episode after awesome episode, and you're like, where'd this guy come from? He's just awesome.
Well, what do we mean by awesome? I mean, like, he's confident, he's got tenacity, he's spunky.
He always does the right thing, and he's always just, you know, brazen and out there, and he knows he's right, and wow, the plot says he's right too. So, I don't know.
Well, once again, let's not do an overview, because I'm thinking of other things I want to talk about right now. We're avoiding the inevitable. Here comes Icarus Factor. Yes. So, in the Icarus Factor, Riker's father shows up, and he's there for some unmemorable mission, and that has something
But basically,
to do with
I think he just wants to show up and say hi to Riker.
Yeah, it's an excuse. I mean, none of that story really matters much, and so we won't even cover it. It's an excuse to come on board and talk to Riker, who hasn't talked to for what did it say, 15 years? Yeah, that's a long time to be estranged from your father. And I actually thought they handled that part decently well. There's definitely some cliched stuff, but I think they handled the whole thing of it's been that long since they've talked, and Riker just won't talk to him.
Yeah, he's pretty much, nothing's changed, so why are we supposed to start talking now after 15 years? So it seems like he was pretty happy to leave the relationship dead as it was.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
and this hits him like a ton of bricks, and he just doesn't want to talk about it. Yeah. And I appreciate the fact that he doesn't go around the ship sulking and talking with everybody about it.
He just ignores his father and goes on with business as usual.
Yeah, that's right.
He's basically, I have my duties to perform this ship. I don't need distractions. And my father is just a distraction. So I want him to do what he has to do, leave, and go on with my life.
I think the thing with him and with Riker's father and Pulaski is bizarre.
And yeah, it kind of comes out of nowhere. It's kind of unnecessary, and it's just there so that we can have commentary on Riker's relationship with his father.
I honestly think they only wrote that in there. You're exactly right. I think they wrote that in there so that there would be some other person to comment on this.
Yeah.
Because, like we said, Riker's not talking to anybody about it, so where's that going to come from?
Yeah, and to try to give Riker a different angle on how to view his father. It's just,
Yeah, and on the one hand, I almost appreciate it because Pulaski is not a developed character, and we never know enough about her, especially this late in the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, looking at this retrospectively, of course, we all know that she's not going to be there for the next season, and so it's a little bit disappointing that we never get enough. Because the thing is, some people really hate Pulaski. I can't like her or hate her. She's just there.
You know,
and so
when I first started watching Star Trek, and I watched some season 2 with Pulaski in it, I hated her. Couldn't stand her. And then, you know, a couple years down the road, I've seen a bunch of TNG, and I find that I just can't stand Beverly Crusher. And I almost like Pulaski better, except when I hate her more.
I think if Pulaski stayed on and Crusher hadn't come back, she would have been a fleshed out character.
I think she would have grown on people.
I think so too. I think, dare I say, that she could have been made into the female version of Bones. In a way.
In a way. I mean, she had, and I think the whole
she's a little negative sometimes. She's a little bit crotchety.
Maybe
that's not fair. Maybe she's not old enough to call crotchety, but
surely the prejudice against Data would have gone away. And by the end of the season,
it kind of did.
They haven't really brought it up in a while.
Yeah, you're right, because that was like the only thing that defined her at that point.
Yeah.
So then here with Riker's father, we get a bit of her past, and it's a significant part of her past because we find out they almost got married.
Yeah.
And she says I would have married him in a hot minute is what she says.
Yeah.
And Riker doesn't understand why, because his father's arrogant and he's brazen
and never had time for Will.
But I do have to mention that just the previous episode, it's so goofy, because Pulaski and Riker have a conversation about Riker's father in the previous episode.
Yeah, when they're making an omelet.
When they're making this crappy omelet in
that only
the
Worf
teaser.
likes.
That only Worf likes. And by the way, that has nothing to do with the rest of the episode. It's just there. Anyway, yeah, and I guess it's just there to say Worf likes crappy eggs. And so anyway... he's cooking and they're talking about his father, and it comes into this conversation where Pulaski asks, "Oh well, did your father cook?" And he's like, "No, my father hated cooking. My mother did all the cooking." And
no, he said his father hated to cook and his mom was dead. So
oh, is that what it was?
The cooking fell to him.
I forget. Yeah, and then the cooking. That's right. And then the cooking fell to him. But I guess my point is, when you watch this, it's weird because it happened just the episode previously. When you watch this one, it seems as though she was, for whatever reason, pretending like she didn't know him, like she was holding something back.
Yeah.
And it's very evident that the writers just hadn't decided that relationship was going to happen yet.
Yeah, exactly.
And
then
it's
it would have been
irritating
nice to have seen a line in Icarus Factor where she's like, "Oh, I didn't realize I didn't match up Riker and Riker," or something like that.
But in
that
Icarus
still
Factor,
would have
it
been
seems
a little forced. But
yeah, but it seems fairly evident that she knew the whole time.
she
that
knew the
was...
whole time. Yeah, it was obvious the way that they had their conversation. But
so anyway, how do you feel? Let's speed this up a little bit. How do you feel about the relationship with Riker and his father in general? I feel like it's a little bit forced. I've seen worse.
It's a little forced. It's kind of obvious, but I mean, there are only so many different relationship types that you can have with your parents, and so it's all in how you handle it.
And it doesn't have a lot of time to develop since they attempt subplots in this episode.
Yeah, and we know that's probably the only time we're going to see his father, so you got this one shot. Yeah,
a little mediocre, I think.
Just a bit mediocre. The first time I watched this episode, I hated it, and I liked it a bit better this time. But Riker was still great.
I think they have a difficult time getting us to have any sympathy for that character.
Yeah. Especially when he comes up toward the end where, well, they didn't write a rule book for parenting, and so if somebody had told me that I should have spent some time with my kid, then I would have.
Yeah, just silly common sense stuff. Yeah, he's holding the regular generic father thing, and it's not fair for me to say this because this is a problem real parents have. It's just that you have to write it in such a way where it feels like it comes from the characters, and it's not a generically forced thing.
Parents have a problem with, some people don't necessarily know. Oh, well, I should take the time to spend with my kid because he won't be around for
the mother dies and he panics.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
but,
that.
I mean, just to bring it up in the fact that, if somebody had written it down for me, I probably would have known better.
That was goofy.
Like, really? Yeah.
So how do you feel about the Worf thing?
The Worf thing started out really dopey.
It did.
I liked it at the end. I kind of liked what it turned into.
It's dopey because the thing with Crusher is awkward. The thing with Wesley is awkward.
Yeah.
The conversation they have in the hall is just awkward.
Well, it seems to come out of nowhere, and it's kind of pointless, and you're like, well, Worf's not really in a slump. He's just saying, "Shut up, Wesley."
Yeah.
Because I would at that point.
Yeah.
But
and then it turns out he really is just in a slump because, he doesn't have any Klingons around because it's the Age of Ascension.
Yeah. And I really like the end how, all his friends band together and they set this up for him. And I especially like the conversation that he and Worf and Troy have coming down the hallway to the holodeck where she's getting him to go in there. I thought that was a really good scene.
Yeah, that was all right.
Yeah.
I don't really understand why Pulaski felt the need to be there and Troy refused. That was strange to me. I don't understand that. But
in case he hurt himself on pain sticks.
Maybe that's what it was, actually. That's a good point. That's probably what it was. So, rating?
Oh, rating. Yeah, if I had rated this before I watched it earlier this week, I would have given it much lower.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to go with a 2. It's not bad, but it's not good. There are things I like about it, and scenes that I really don't like to watch. So I think it's average, run-of-the-mill for TNG.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to say a 2 also. I think that there are better Riker episodes this season, and I just think it could have been. I think it could have been handled a little bit better. It's not, but it's not hard to watch or anything.
Yeah, no, they had a good concept for television. Just put it on there, but they didn't execute it well enough.
Well, hey, did you ever see Icarus Factor? If you did, feel free to leave a comment or leave a rating in the comments below. And if there's something you'd like us to talk about in a future episode, either a question you have for us to answer on Ask the Treksperts or an episode you'd like us to review, feel free to leave that in the comments as well. And thanks as always for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
See you next time.